We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. This is the first preview video of the year for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Of course, they will be taking on the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. This should be a fun game. I'm just super stoked either way that we are back for the 2022-2023 football season. To me, it seems like it kind of flew by quickly between last season and the start of this season. Either way, we're here, baby, and I will have you guys covered every step of the way. But before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys to consider hitting that subscribe button. The channel has grown massively because you guys are the best fans in the world. Iowa Hawkeye fans are the best. At the very least, like, comment, share. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'll put the PayPal and Cash App link in the description. And without further ado, let's get into this. So we are definitely back, folks. And if you have watched a preview video that I've done in the past, you know that I look at Pro Football Focus stats, player grades, team stats. I go over key players for each team, and then I provide a prediction at the end of the game for what I think is going to happen and some storylines to watch going into the game. Obviously, I am an Iowa Hawkeye fan, but I will try to keep this as unbiased as possible and show as much as I can for the opposing team that Iowa will be playing. Now, I want to start here with the Iowa Hawkeyes, which is the storylines that will be monitored the most, in my opinion, by the fans and the media for the Iowa Hawkeyes going into this season. And the first place that you have to start is the offense. So many people, it's become a joke, a running joke, whatever you want to call it, with regards to the Iowa Hawkeyes and their inability to get it done on the offensive side of the football. Not only that, but so many people see the Iowa Hawkeyes as a team that could be so much better, given how good the defense is, as well as the special teams, the kicking game. Literally last year, and I said this multiple times last year, Iowa was good to elite on multiple phases of the football game or across the on their team, but they were just so bad offensively that it took all of those other phases of football to just win games. You look at the defense, elite. Iowa was a top 20, at times top 10 defense nationally. Special teams, Iowa had, or still has, an excellent punter. They had a really good kicker in Caleb Shudak last year. That's also going to be a storyline, which I'll get into, is the kicking game. They had a Big Ten returner of the year in Charlie Jones, who was an absolute freak on the back end and was a play waiting to happen every time he touched the ball on a kickoff or a punt return. And it literally took all of those things to win a football game. Against Nebraska last year, Iowa won exactly because of all of those phases bailing the offensive out. So the point is that is the number one storyline, is the offense. Iowa, of course, hired a former Wisconsin coach. I'm going to pull up his name here real quick. John Boudmeyer is the name. And like I said, he was a part of Wisconsin's coaching staff. I'm not sure the exact details of his employment, whether it's a full-blown volunteer. It looks here that it says John Boudmeyer will earn $15,833 per month over a 6-month period, totaling under $95,000. So that's definitely not volunteer. But they added him in the offseason. Brian Ferentz moved from tight ends coach to quarterbacks coach, retaining the offensive play calling duties for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And obviously, Spencer Petras, who has been under fire for much of his tenure as Iowa's starting quarterback, also went to the Manning camp. We saw videos of him training with his trainer, who also coaches Nate Stanley, as well as current Iowa commit Marco Lainez. So we've seen all of these things. Okay. Also, Iowa lost to, playmaking. I wouldn't say starting wide receivers, but guys who were definitely in the lineup. One guy was very crucial to the punt and kickoff return game, Charlie Jones and Tyrone Tracy. And not only did they lose both of them, but they lost both of them to the same school in Purdue. So there's a lot to really dissect. And the main thing, in my opinion, when it comes to the Iowa Hawkeye offense in game one against South Dakota State is, how does it look? What will it look like? Is it going to be the same old, and just trying to fit a square peg into a round hole? What are we going to see with this Iowa Hawkeye offense? Are we going to see some more motion, some more movement, pre-snap? Are we going to see Keegan Johnson moved around the field a lot more? Arlen Bruce, are we going to see him split reps between running back and wide receiver? Are the Hawkeyes going to attack the deep ball more often? All of these things are valid question marks. The run game, are the Iowa Hawkeyes going to consistently stay with the outside zone? Some people say that the outside zone is not the problem. The problem is Iowa running into plays that were dead to begin with. There is the idea that Iowa sometimes doesn't go to their bread and butter enough, and they try to do things that are just at times mind-boggling. So what are we going to see? Are we going to see a two-headed or three-headed monster approach in the running game? As I said, Arlen Bruce, is he going to get some snaps at running back? There's so many questions within the number one question, which is, how is this Iowa Hawkeye offense going to look? And the second main question that I would say going into this game, and I don't want to stay on this too long because this is a preview video, is what will Spencer Petras look like? Is he going to look more athletic? Is he going to look more confident? And is he actually going to attack the deep ball more often this season? A lot of the questions that exist with the Iowa Hawkeye offense also exist with Spencer Petras. I did post on Facebook that in the Iowa Hawkeyes mic'd up of Spencer Petras, in my opinion, he looked way more confident, way looser, and more mobile. We heard reports that he worked in the offseason to get his body right. So all of those things are just great questions to be answered come this upcoming game against South Dakota State. The next questions, and I'm going to run through these really quickly, in my opinion, would be, who's going to be the starting kicker for the Iowa Hawkeyes? Who's going to get those duties? That would be one. Number two is, who's going to fill Charlie Jones' role in kickoff and punt return? Is it going to be two people? Is it just going to be one person who takes both roles? And then I would say, how the last question would be, how is the secondary going to look, secondary and offensive line going to look with some key departures? The defense losing Dane Belton and Matt Hankins, and the offensive line losing All-American Tyler Linderbaum. So those are the main questions for the Iowa Hawkeyes going into this game against South Dakota State. All right, guys, right back into it. This is South Dakota State's schedule from last year. They didn't play any team on the level of the Iowa Hawkeyes. But South Dakota State is definitely one of the better one of the better FCS programs, no doubt about it. They went to the FCS championship semifinals. That's a pretty big deal. So again, here is the schedule that they played last year. Their record, let's count this up. They went 1, 2, well, we can just see it right here. They went 11-4 last year. So the bottom line is, folks, South Dakota State is no joke as far as an FCS program. And I don't say that in a disparaging manner, anything like that, because they're a legit football program. The Iowa Hawkeyes absolutely cannot sleep on South Dakota State. And we all know that the Hawkeyes a few years back lost to North Dakota State. And I sure as heck don't want to see a repeat of that again. Now we're going to take a look at Black Heart Gold Pants game preview of South Dakota State here. This was by Boiler Hawks, so I want to, give credence. Obviously, the game is September 3rd, 2022, 11 a.m. God's time, Kinnick Stadium, Iowa City. And the Y says, why was this game scheduled? Because North Dakota State was booked that weekend. 4 stats for South Dakota State, 10 straight FCS playoff appearances. That's incredible. The only thing Coach Steig hasn't brought to Brookings is a national championship trophy. They've been in the FCS semifinals or further in 4 of the last 5 tournaments. They're one of 2 teams to have a current decade-long streak. 2 wins against FBS opponents. They beat a shared opponent in Colorado State last year and Kansas in 2015. Last season's win against Colorado State was the season opener, and it was not pretty at 42-23. 3 games with 20 points or less last season. The Jackrabbits averaged 36.1 points per game, 10th in the FCS, in large part by their ability to limit poor offensive outings. Iowa had 5, which is even more when you take away defensive and special teams touchdowns. South Dakota State had 27 takeaways, had a top 4 turnover margin at a clean 1.00 a game, mainly by their ability to intercept passes at 21, led the country there from what I can tell. Part of the elite turnover margin is not turning it over themselves, and they had just 12 on the season. So that's definitely going to be a little matchup to watch because the Hawkeyes are very good in that manner as well. Iowa likes to play time of possession football, TOP football, and they like to force not even necessarily force, but just a bend don't break to where the opposing team gives the football away once, sometimes multiple times. Iowa, the Doughboys had many interceptions last year. 3 guys. Isaiah Davis, number 11, running back, junior, 6'1", 220 pounds. South Dakota State's leading rusher, Pierre Strong, departed for the NFL, which will leave Davis as the bona fide number 1. Davis put up 701 yards despite an injury, which kept him out of 8 games, and led the Jacks in the 2021 spring season. Notably, he rarely doesn't run for a loss, with the first of his career coming 81 rushes in and just 8 in 95 attempts last season. Wow. He's a gamer and scored every one of their TDs in the championship game loss, including this 85-yarder. I would play it, but don't want to get demonetized on this, guys. Caton Hyde, number 13, their quarterback, senior, 6'3", 200 pounds. The Jackrabbit quarterback started 5 games way back in 2019 and did what he needed to do as a freshman. He went 85 of 127, 67% completion percentage for 1,072 yards with 7 tubs and 3 INTs. He bided his time as Mark Gronkowski and Chris Oladukin started the 2021 seasons. And while Gronkowski is still on the roster after a spring 2021 injury, Heidi looks like the guy who will face Iowa. Oladukin slung it for over 3,000 yards last season, so their offense is certainly not pass averse. Wow, that's very interesting. Very interesting. Adam Bach, the linebacker. This one was a toss-up between Bach and cornerback Dales Beenum, who returned 2 of his 4 INTs to the house, but I opted to go with the Jackrabbits leading tackler, who happened to graduate from Salone. Wow. We got an Iowa product. We got an Iowa product, folks. I mean this respectfully when I write. Bach reminds me of a mini version of Jack Campbell as an absolute tackling machine and do-it-all linebacker. He amassed 115 tackles, 40 more than second on the team, was third on the team in tackles for loss, 9.5, and threw in a couple INTs and forced fumbles for good measure. Oh yeah, he also had a blocked kick. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I want to read this, guys, because I definitely agree with this. And the main thing when I was viewing this game, in my opinion, and I think even South Dakota State fans will agree with this, the Hawkeyes are the more talented team. I believe that Iowa not only uh, is more talented than South Dakota State, but I think they're one of the most talented teams, top to bottom, in the Big Ten. They have recruited much better in recent years, and they have a lot of returning talent. I think there's many media members who maybe are not giving Iowa the credit that they deserve for how much talent they have returning. Two cases. Best case, Iowa shows up ready to play. Spencer Petras looks the part against a solid but overmatched defense, and Charlie Jones is forgotten as Cooper DeJean is turned loose on special teams. Even Joey Labus gets some run as Iowa's got a 30-point lead for much of the fourth quarter. Worst case, South Dakota State matches Iowa's physicality and gets an early score before Kinnick Stadium fills in, which gets everyone properly on edge. Oh, wow. I could just see it now. Iowa struggles to pull away as the game increasingly resembles North Dakota State's victory over the Hawkeyes in 2016. Whether Iowa wins or not becomes decreasingly relevant as any alleged progress made on offense is proven not to be the case. Yikes. So I want to piggyback on this a little bit. The bottom line is, folks, as I was alluding to before I read that, is again, Iowa is more talented, and they do have some question marks that they need to answer going into this game. At the end of the day, season openers really come down to who is ready to play, both physically and mentally, who's going to get after it most, because these first games are always tricky. If Iowa is properly ready to go, they should be fine. If not, then it's going to be a long day. And it's impossible for me right now to really give a full-blown assessment or analysis when this is the first game. And that is what makes it so tricky. All of this is pretty much guesswork based off of last season and what we have seen in years prior with some of the Iowa Hawkeye players on the team. So I am just hoping and praying that Iowa is properly ready to go during this first season. I do think that the number one thing that Iowa thrives on is their defense, which will absolutely be ready to go against South Dakota State. And I think the veteran leadership of Riley Moss, who was Big Ten DB of the year last year, as well as Jack Campbell, will help anchor this Iowa team going into this game. I have South Dakota State's stats in the background here. Obviously, not all these guys are still on the team. But, you know, in games like this, in particular, when it's an FCS team playing an FBS Big Ten level school, at the end of the day, the FCS team has virtually nothing to lose, and they are using this game as a prepper for their season. They know that they're playing a top-tier program, and they more than likely are willing to pull out all the stops during this game and do whatever needs to be done that they wouldn't otherwise do in other games, because this is more or less a throwaway game for them. Whereas on the flip side, and this is why I'm not always a big proponent of Iowa scheduling a FCS team. On the flip side, Iowa, if they beat South Dakota State, people will say, well, you did exactly what you're supposed to do. But if they lose, it will take multiple weeks and multiple victories for people to feel even remotely confident in the Iowa Hawkeyes again. As I said, here are some of the stats. Ola Dukin is gone. The Hyde, Caton Hyde right here, 10 for 14, 203 yards for 71.4% completion percentage. That's not bad. It really isn't. Receiving, we got some receiving yards here. let's see if any of these guys are coming back. Tucker Kraft is definitely somebody to keep an eye off of, or an eye on, not off of, on. He was a junior last year. I assume he's back. He had 700 yards last season, 773 yards. So that's no joke. I think that he's probably going to, as long as he's still on the roster, he is going to be something that the Iowa Hawkeyes have to monitor. So just before I look at the Iowa Hawkeyes depth chart, I did want to play this just as a little fun interjection for the video. I could not find South Dakota State's depth chart. I'm sure it will be released Monday. I'm recording this Saturday, and Iowa's official depth chart isn't even released yet. I really did look for South Dakota State's, couldn't find it. But here we go. Let's check this out real quickly. Just a little bit of this to get you guys pumped up.
What would you like to say to the great people of Hawk Nation?
We love you guys. Can't wait to see you September 3rd.
Hey, shout out my boy.
Hey.
Ivy, right here. Hey, Bruce. Ivy. He's the real GOAT right here. Yeah, I appreciate it, AB. Left, right. Hey.
I do think this is potentially an area that Iowa, maybe people on the outside were not expecting to see improvement that I think we may see improvement from and help propel this Iowa team forward. Because at the end of the day, we all know, folks, that Iowa needs to be able to run the ball. We can talk about Spencer Petras and the offense, this and that. But if Iowa can run the football, the offense will, generally speaking, be average at the very least. Okay. And Tyler Goodson, who seems to be doing decently with Green Bay, as I knew he would, last year at times he lacked physicality. And love, I've said this before, love the mom, gave my channel a retweet, love T Good, and all of that. But the physicality at times was missing. Now, and the run game at time was mediocre. Now, was that all on T Good or the offensive line? I would say it was probably a mixture of both. I do think that Gavin Williams and LaShawn Williams are much better than the media and the college football world when looking at Iowa are expecting. They looked really good, not really good, but good against Kentucky. Gavin Williams was a high 3-star, low 4-star recruit coming out of Southeast Polk / Dowling High School. LaShawn Williams, there's reports that he's looked good. And I also think some of the other young recruits that, or young players that, running backs that Iowa has on the roster look really good as well. So I think the running back position group for the Hawkeyes might be a position of strength that not everybody on the outside is expecting.
Hey. Nah. Not me. KJ2, boys.
He looks good, folks. He looks really good.
Top 10 funniest on the team.
Top 5.
You think he's top 5? He said he's top 5 funniest on the team. I gave him top 10. What's up, K2? What you got?
Dang, I'm loving what I'm seeing here, y'all. Woo!
I say to the people.
Hey, man, K2 in the building, man. Always, you feel me? Always the top. Let's work today, though.
Let's work for sure.
Yeah. Let's work today, y'all. Hey, y'all know we got to get better today. Hey, RB's on 3. 1, 2, 3.
RB's. That's crazy. That's crazy.
What about what?
That's crazy, man.
It's always funny watching these videos. The the words they're saying, we're cutting in like mid sentence, so we don't even know what they're really saying. But anyways.
Good Jess. Appreciate y'all, riding with me today at practice. Shout out to my boy K2. Man. We out here getting better every day, doing what we can. Great competition, great players, great atmosphere, great fans. Can't wait to see y'all September 3rd. Peace.
Nice. That's the way to close it. Peace. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. Let's look at the depth chart here, and I'm just going to let you guys know my prediction, how I think this game is going to go down. It's virtually impossible to predict these first games fully. You're really going off of your gut and what you've seen the previous season with your team. But either way, it's going to be a great game. South Dakota State is I don't love Iowa playing an FCS team, but it's still a good football program. And I do think this game will be fun. For the Iowa Hawkeyes, we'll see who starts at left corner, if it's going to be Jamari, if it's going to be Terry Roberts, maybe Cooper DeJean. I think Cooper DeJean's probably going to be Cash. Who's going to take over the punt and kickoff return duties? I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be Arland Bruce or Keegan Johnson. I mean, that would make sense to me. And then I also think I'm personally very curious to see what Lucas Van Ness looks like. I mean, the guy in his offseason photos is absolutely yoked. He is a tank. All right, guys, this is my 2 cents on this game. It's a tricky game. As I've been alluding to this whole video, South Dakota State has nothing to lose. Iowa has everything to lose in this game. However, with that being said, I do, and I hope I'm not wrong about, or I hope I'm not wrong about this. I really don't. But I do think we'll see at the very least small improvement with the Iowa offense, not in Spencer Petras necessarily, but in the run game. And I think Keegan Johnson and Arland Bruce will be ready. And I think Sam Laporta will help move the chains for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And the main reason that I think the Hawks are going to get this W, and you guys should feel confident about the Hawks going into this game, is the defense. This defense is loaded, folks. Absolutely loaded. Yes, Iowa needs to figure out who their kicker is for sure. The good news is we have seen some improvement from the Kids Day practice. So either way, like I said, improvement for the Iowa offense, not necessarily from Petras, but in the run game, the other guys as well. The defense is going to be ready to go, and I think the Iowa Hawkeyes are just going to be totally ready to go with this game. It's the first game of the season. They're going to be stoked to get this W and ready to go. I think the Iowa Hawkeyes win this game 28-17. I think they hold South Dakota State below 20 points. And I think they are able to put up 28 points, especially with some points late in the game. Let me know what you guys think about this game in the comment section. I decided not to pull up any PFF stuff because all of the grades are from last season. And, quite frankly, those mean nothing when it comes to this season. So as soon as there is a game of player grades to go off of, I will absolutely be using PFF grades moving forward. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Like, comment, share. You know the drill. And I really hope you guys consider hitting that subscribe button, supporting your boy and the Iowa Hawkeyes. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy, Willow. Facts or feelings, because your feelings don't matter. Love y'all. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.